Hi, this is Shui with a review of the KD 17. 17. Why do I think of a teen magazine for a princessy little teenager like Kevin Durant who keeps on making the worst mistake of his career and just keeps getting from bad to worse situations on his own volition and choice. Anyway, the shoe, the KD 17, it's the silhouette, the design, I think it's one of the most beautiful KD series designs to date. I love how they try to show some elements of the Phoenix Suns, Arizona, scorching sun, burning sun, these little gradation and the color, the yellow to orange. It's beautiful. It screams Suns. It seems like it's a shoe that's designed for a player that's more hotter and more attractive to sponsor than KD. Anyway, this hologram little patch, that's to me, that's just screams a shoe that I have to have. Shiny things, I'm attracted to it like a moth to a flame. So this one, it's a little bit heavier than previous KD models. For size 9.5, it weighs about 400 grams, and it feels pretty hefty. I mean, it's not LeBron hefty, but it's not Adidas AE1 hefty, but considering the KD models are kind of the Slim Reaper, it doesn't feel like a Slim Reaper. It feels like a chunky Reaper. So yeah, the heel slippage issue, it's not as bad as the KD 15s, but it could be a little bit better depending on your foot shape. You might feel a little bit of it. There is no extra padding or difference in the beefiness of the padding. Is pretty uniform, even all throughout. So if you like that, that's good. But if you like some kind of a different reinforcement around the heel area to provide that anti-heel slippage lockdown, might be a little bit, like just a little bit better than the KD 15. For overall, the upper, these little TPU rubbery bits, they actually do a good job of providing some reinforcement in terms of lockdown. So it's good. It's locked down without something that hinders you. Like a lot of KD series in the past, they had some little bits and pieces that it's a TPU plastic or the way the shoe is shaped. It kind of pinches normal people's foot a little bit. Unless you have a really narrow foot, you might find some discomfort in previous KD models. But this one, it's pretty roomy. It's the most roomy KD series to date, I think. Comparable to KD 14 maybe, or even better. But at the same time, they do not sacrifice or compromise the overall fit and lockdown. There is no crazy dead space. It's just very forgiving around the foot. The good lockdown is good because the lace loops come all the way down closer to your toes. So good lockdown. Yeah, the tongue, everything is well padded. So sizing, it's gonna be a bit tricky. If you're used to the traditional KD series fit, this is definitely on the wider scale. So I would say, for those who are not familiar with KDs or just trying to shoe for the first time, you can go true to size. But if you like some degree of roominess, or if you feel like some basketball shoes, especially Nike basketball shoes, are a little bit too narrow and chafing, then you might want to go up half a size. For those who like a really narrow, tight fit, you probably want to go true to size or down half a size. But generally, it is one of the roomier KD series. That's something you should keep in mind. So the cushioning is, again, the dual setup of air Strobel on the heel and Zoom Air on the forefoot. But the change is the KD 16, I believe, had a tiny little zoom, but this 17 is a semi-zoom Strobel or a zoom turbo that's pretty beefy. And at the same time, they did a strange thing of having a black plate that's covering the whole part of the forefoot. So I thought that would kind of negate the zoom, but it actually provides as equal, if not better, kind of the unlock zoom sensation that you used to get from the Jordan 28, 29s, and 30s. Maybe not as bouncy, but the force is more evenly distributed without making you feel like there's a plate that's gonna give you blisters. The worst type of plate on top of the cushioning is the ones we felt from the shoes like 31s, where you could really feel the plate hurting you. 30, 29, 28, the unlock zoom concept of having a zoom sandwich between two plates, that actually worked nicely. But this is more comfortable, softer than that, but at the same time, you can sense the zoom there, but the zoom is actually more evenly distributing the force instead of having pinpoint compressions. So this is usually for heel setup, but it actually works because they've designed the midsole in a way that the midsole again is very plush, Cushlon type of sole. It's very soft. I think some of the weight comes from the density of the midsole. It's pretty dense and beefy, but forgiving at the same time. So good choice in the midsole material. So there's a good heel to toe drop. There's a heel to toe drop you can feel, even though you have an air Strobel, which is softer than Zoom Strobel with a plate, because it's just Zoom and the plate, and not much foam around it. So there's a good offset or a heel to toe drop, especially compared to crappy mistakes like the KD16s. This has much better cushioning, balance, and I suppose setup that will prevent you from getting any Achilles tendonitis or aching sensations on your foot because of that imbalance. So that is good. The outsole pattern is, yeah, the rule of thumb nowadays, I think it always has been since the Kobe 9 was out. You see something somewhat remotely resembling the Kobe 9s, like the PG5s, that's good traction. Additionally, the grooves are actually pretty, the blades are thick and the grooves are pretty deep. So this is not going to wear out, rub off like an eraser, like in some previous models, like the KD LeBron 21. I felt like the blades were like just getting rubbed off so quickly on certain parts, but this is quite evenly, longer blades, deeper grooves, so good. This little indentation here, I think it's just to maybe save on material, try to make it lighter, but they didn't, because it's a pretty hefty a KD line that's on the heavier side. But interestingly, it's just rubber. There's no plastic or anything. The only plate is on the forefoot. So again, that is what some might find problematic. For me, I didn't feel like the plate provided any imbalance of the midfoot being too squishy compared to the forefoot, because I bend here, not in the midfoot. So some people complain about having some degree of concern or irritation here where there's a division between the plate and the air roll, but I felt like it's okay. It was okay. It does its job of trying to provide some anti-warping, some additional stability. There's this rubbly plastic on the lateral side, but I don't know what it does better than having nothing. But it's not annoying you in any way, but it's not doing anything incredible like providing additional stability. But I guess it's better than nothing. One thing I find a little bit unusual, well, let's stay with the cushioning. The cushioning itself, the insole they give is a very thick, beefy EVA insole, which I love and prefer more than those crappy recycled spongy Ortholite insole. EVA insole is the way, please. EVA insoles all the time, please. So the insole is pretty substantial, but even without the insole, if I were to wear this without the insole, I can still feel the cushioning working. So the plate, even if your foot is on the plate, the Zoom Air at the bottom and the foam works complementarily nicely so that you won't get any blisters, but at the same time, it's evenly distributing the load and the force. So when I saw the specs, I would say this is a hard pass, but shockingly, it actually works. So this, all in all, is a better, more correct direction for the KD line series, especially with the disappointment and the laziness that we've experienced in the KD16. Better design, the cushioning concept is improved, even though they just did little, but you know, less is more, they say sometimes. The price point, it's not crazy expensive, but I don't think it's on the more affordable side. I think they should lower the price, considering the fact that they've had some of the better signature shoe that were selling a lot cheaper. Maybe I'm confusing with Adidas. Nike has always been a little bit expensive. So yeah, the cushioning overall, it feels like an extension, a not so distant cousin of PG5 or the GT Hustle. That's how it feels like. Again, one unfortunate part is that the base, it's not that narrow, not as narrow as the crazy KD15, but there is no prominent outrigger, and it's not wide enough. You've experienced a little bit of a concern because there is no great breakage on the lateral side. It's not bad, not as bad as the LeBron 15, all the 15s have very bad stability, very bad anti-inversion lockdown poor in that aspect. KD 15 is the worst. LeBron 15 is the supreme commander in terms of providing instability when it comes to rocking sensations and spraining your ankle. Not that bad, but it could be better considering the shoe that's out in 2024, where we've seen a lot of locking mechanisms. Like even the Lucas tried to have an additional lockdown anti-inversion system on the lateral side, and that shoe is a lot more cheaper than this, so it's intriguing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's got a great design. Cushioning is shockingly impressive. Traction is pretty awesome. Fit, roomy. A bit on the beefier, heftier side, but it's not crazy. It's not over 500 grams. It's just 400 compared to other KD models that were minimal and lighter. Yeah, slightly heavier, but it's still lighter than most of the Nike shoes that boast a lot of weird tech, like a GT Jump 2 or the LeBron model. So yeah, not too bad. Maybe different materials would come with different weight, just like the LeBron 21s. We'll see what happens. But this, I was expecting a disappointment, but surprisingly, it's quite good.